Time for us to head to Qatar for the last time, I think, with Kevin Kilbane. Good morning to you. Oh, he's back on Monday, obviously. But how are you?
Good morning, Ger. I don't normally get you on Friday. What's happening here?
Well, the school show is on today, and so I had to switch with Adrian Barry, and it suited him.
Ah,
So
yeah. Well, everything's got to suit Adrian, hasn't it?
between 10:30 and 2 o'clock today, I'll be watching the same set of carols being sung by 5 different classes. It's very exciting.
It's got to be done.
It has to be done. It absolutely has to be done. And apparently, you're not allowed to bring a hip flask. It's frowned upon.
Oh, really? Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's the only thing. Look, it's great. They're all excellent, and they've all been working really hard for a long period of time, and I'm very excited about
They're
it.
controlling the controllables. They're just focused on the process.
Exactly. We're showing up.
You can't contain your emotions right now, then, eh?
No. Right. So look, we had some quickfire stuff that we wanted to get through, and then I do want to talk to you about some trends and any lessons for Ireland from what we've seen over the last while. So, best player of the tournament outside the obvious.
Obviously, outside Messi and Mbappe, then we're looking at
Best goal was the first one, not best player. I misread it. Best goal.
yeah,
You've gone for Chavez.
best goal. I mean, do you know what the reason why I went for Chavez was technically as a free kick, it's one of the best free kicks you'll see, and I love a free kick. I've heard some of you guys been on over the last week or so that their free kick doesn't count, but technically, unbelievable goal. And you've got the probably if I really think about it, the goal for one moment, which could have been a great moment, the Neymar goal against Croatia in that quarter-final as a team goal was just unbelievable. Even the Weghorst goal late on against Argentina, the way that came about for one moment, unbelievable. Sterling's goal, Aboubakar's chip, but Aboubakar's scoop, he would never ever have done that. Even the Richarlison's one. Richarlison's one it wasn't a great touch, and he had to sort his feet out. So to finish it was a great finish, and can't take anything away on that moment, that stage. But I think technically, Chavez free kick was absolutely perfect.
I think a free kick counts. By the way, I think it's Joe who has the.
Yeah, of course it's Joe, isn't it? Do you know what Joe's like?
That was his theory. I think that it actually counts more because you've got the. This is a big moment. I'm thinking about this now. Everybody's watching, as opposed to right balls in the air. I need to do the thing that comes instinctively. So you've gone for Messi as player. The final isn't written yet. Are we tempting fate, or does it matter?
Well, I think I don't think it tarnishes his legacy in any way, win or lose. I don't think that's going to be the thing. But I genuinely hope he does win. I think most football fans hope he does win, just for everything that he's given us over the last 15, 20 years. If it's his last game playing for Argentina, then so be it. I think certainly he can retire happy, can't he, off the back of a big win. But I think man for man, the French are a better side, and I just think France are going to win the game, Jerry. I just look at the side, and I mean, I was listening to you just before, actually, when you were talking to Roland O'Gara. There's a virus running through the side. That could be a key thing with it. If they're not fully fit, they're not right. That could play into Argentina's hands. But if you'd have to say, honestly, I'd say the player of the tournament is Messi, just what he's done single-handedly. But Antoine Griezmann has to be right up there with him. Antoine Griezmann, every single game from the first game against Australia he's just been brilliant every single match he's played in. So I think Griezmann certainly can give Mbappe and Messi a run for the money.
Can I just ask you quickly about Griezmann, Kev? He's kind of reinvented himself, would it be fair to say? Like, he's playing a completely different role now, and he's back clearing balls off the line. He's, orchestrating more than finishing now. It's fascinating how, I suppose, is that because of the surplus of attacking players that they had, that they needed, and maybe a deficit in the middle of the park, that they needed someone who was going to create maybe more than they had the finishers already?
Yeah, do you know what, Michael, as well? Maybe a little bit of he's got to compensate a little bit for Mbappe. Mbappe's work rate of getting back into the side, it's not always going to be there. So Griezmann seems to be doing a bit of the work for Mbappe. He's playing as a 10, although you'll see him in the 6 role at times. He'll be sat in front of the back 4. He'll be taking the ball off the defenders. He'll be trying to almost dictate the run of play and dictate the tempo of a game. So you'll see him working back, you'll see him clearing balls out of the 18-yard box, and you'll see him then sprinting forward to get on the end of things. So I think creativity-wise, I mean, the first goal that France scored the other night against Morocco, if you watch it from the tactical cam and you see his movement in the build up to that goal, and when France was shifting the ball from left to right and coming back on itself, he must have made about 4 or 5 different runs, just little runs. And one little subtle movement opened up Morocco, because it just left too big a gap between the left wing back and the left centre half. The ball was then easily slotted down the outside, and the game just opened up in that one movement and in that one moment, should I say? So it's such fine margins when you get to that type of game, that semi-final like it was, because Morocco weren't really going to shift, they weren't really going to budge, and it was Griezmann that opened up the game with just movement. It wasn't necessarily being on the ball that actually created that goal. So I think the cleverness of his runs, as you say, reinventing himself. I just think he's had an unbelievable desire to be involved in everything that France have done, and I think that's basically been the key to it. Playing as a 10, I think, has helped him. We've seen him play off the right-hand side for France and Atletico and Barcelona and things over the years. I just think the number 10 role suits him, because he's literally been instrumental in everything that France have done.
Yeah, and Deschamps has to get some of the credit here. Like, when you think back to how he turned Pogba into somebody who was completely consistent, very reliable, did exactly what he was supposed to do, 100% a team player 4 years ago. Then all of a sudden his first choice centre midfield gets ripped out because of injury, and it's like, no, I can fix this, no problems. And Griezmann's going to be my solution.
Do you know what, Jerry? I think that's exactly what it is as well. Like, Tchouaméni that's been playing and he's doing well. I have to say that he's doing well, but he's nowhere near on the level of Kante. When you watch what Kante brought to that French side, he's not at that level. I don't think he's great on the ball. I think that's going to improve with time when he's playing at Real Madrid as well. But Griezmann, I think he's probably just taken that responsibility. I think he's 31 now. Maybe there could be a feeling within him, this is my last real chance of a World Cup, and it's now or never with him. And I think this has definitely been Griezmann's best tournament. He was brilliant at 2016 in the Euros, but I think he's taken his game onto a new level here.
So, most underwhelming player of the tournament?
That has to be Kevin De Bruyne, doesn't it? I think Belgium's so underwhelming as a team coming into the tournament. Everyone talking about this being the last chance, but with De Bruyne in the side, I think everybody just thinks, well, something could happen. They might do something special in any game. And I watched them live against Canada in the first game, and he just wasn't himself. Now, obviously, clearly there's been issues within that camp. Clearly, there's something wrong. But watching Kevin De Bruyne, I think it was probably the worst performance I've ever seen him have. Watching him live. He might not necessarily say that himself, but I just was watching him giving the ball away. I was watching his first touch wasn't quite right. Mentally, he probably wasn't in the right headspace, and that showed. So, in my opinion, it would have to be De Bruyne. Yeah.
Can he recover from that and play really well for City? Is it going to be like a release back into the warm embrace of Pep Guardiola and everything's going to be fine, or is this just the natural arc of a footballer? You reach very high heights, and then at some point you stop being as good as you were.
He has to get back to the De Bruyne that we've seen, Ger, doesn't he? Because the level that he was at coming into the tournament was as good as he's been. So that was the most surprising thing. We were looking at it. He was still scoring. He was still creating this season. The relationship that he's got with Haaland. I just probably feel that there was something wrong. There was something wrong in that camp, and I don't necessarily see that he's reached a peak or anything at the moment.
Because he's only 31. Like, it's too early for me to be writing him off.
Yeah,
you already have.
Yeah, maybe.
There you go. Yeah, but
so you're writing him off. So that's it. De Bruyne is gone.
I'm rowing back.
Is that the headline?
I'm rowing back. There you go. Yeah,
De Bruyne
I've learned.
Gone, that's it. He's done. He's done. Then, all right.
He's no longer a failure. Your favourite match was Holland Argentina. Like, it was. So Holland Argentina has obviously given us some incredible ends to matches. Dennis Bergkamp. And here we go again. Like, it couldn't possibly be better than that. And then it ends up being much better than that even.
Yeah, the game, let's be honest, probably the first half was crap, wasn't it? And even maybe 60 minutes, whatever it was. But I think that last 20 minutes of the game or whatever it is, that will just take our judgment over everything. If you're looking at one individual match, it wasn't the greatest of games. But by God, that last... You were literally on the edge of your seat when you were watching it. You were jumping down, the emotions throughout. It was such a great game to watch. It was amazing.
Paddy Barclay got a grief on Twitter during the week. I'm fairly sure it was him, for saying everybody was calling for FIFA to let the game flow, and now it's costing loads of really good players opportunities because of injury.
Yeah.
And there's a general shithousery is being accepted, like all the way through to Emi Martinez basically saying the game is corrupt and not getting banned. I was amazed that they did nothing. Because Emi Martinez, I don't know if you've seen the interview, right? But the interviewer was like, it was a really great game. But like, you've just qualified and you were amazing. He's like, yeah, but I do want to talk about the referee and that shower over there. And I was like, this is unbelievable.
I know, but that happened a few times with referees. I mean, the referee standard up to maybe the quarterfinals was actually really good. There was no issues, no real issues. A couple of maybe issues with VAR earlier on. I think, remember the Harry Maguire incident against Iran when it was clearly a penalty when he was getting wrestled to the ground and there was no pen given. And then they give Iran a penalty later on in that game. It was almost as if someone had spoke to VAR in running and said, look, you're going to have to sort this out. And they kind of corrected themselves and give a penalty for a shirt tug, whatever it was. And everything went okay. There was a couple of decisions that VAR maybe called referees back that shouldn't have been. But by and large, it was okay. And then we hit the quarterfinals, and I'm sure the message to referees, I'm sure it probably come from the top, as you said, let the games flow. Let's not be giving yellow cards out early. And then all of a sudden, the referees were a joke. There's some of the decisions they were doing, they'd lost control of games. But honestly, it was like a throwback. It was a spectacle in itself, watching all these players losing their heads. And then we got to the stage where, as you say, Martinez and a couple of players did interviews just to say that, look, that referee should not be touching a game now. He should not be anywhere near it. So it was funny. It was funny watching the progression of referees in this tournament, and that went full circle, making terrible decisions that were corrected almost in running. Then we came back to where we are now. So I think the Polish referee got the final. I think, Joe, wasn't it? I think it's the Polish referee that's got the final, and I was surprised he got it because there was talk of the MLS ref getting it simply because he was a CONCACAF ref, and they were quite pleased, I think, FIFA, the way that it was handling games. But I think it makes more sense to have the Polish ref who's refereed at a real elite level. I wouldn't want an MLS ref doing a World Cup final. So there'll be a bit of pressure on him. And will Argentina then be calling him out as a European ref? He's got bias towards France or whatever it will be. So it was a big call maybe by FIFA giving him the game, but I'll see how that goes, Joe. I'm going to laugh and see what's going to happen with these Argentina lads, because anything can happen with those guys.
You've told us your prediction is France. It feels like France are a far superior team, and under normal circumstances would be quite heavy favourites, in a little bit kind of similar to what it was against Croatia 4 years ago. But anytime I say that to people, they keep making the case, but Argentina have actually got better game on game. They look much better as the tournament has progressed, and that's a very powerful thing as well.
Yeah, but Ger, I honestly, if you really watch the games, they haven't been great, and so many of the midfield players are just literally passing the ball out of play. We're doing the island games, Ger, so often, and you're looking at our midfield players, and we're going take the ball. No one's taking the ball. They're not taking across the shoulder. They're not switching play. And Argentina midfield players, De Paul and one or two others maybe in there, they're just making so many fundamental errors, giving the ball away, and everything's just relying on Messi just producing something. So, yes, they've got better as a team, but I just think they've become more solid as a team. I mean, Otamendi playing at the back for them. Who would have thought Nicolas Otamendi, we've seen him over the years being this rash defender, getting tight with attacking players, getting caught out of position. And Otamendi's been brilliant. He's been outstanding throughout the tournament. So I don't think they've got a great team. I don't think they've got great individual players, but they're coming together for maybe one goal, one purpose, or whatever you want to say. And if they're going to win it, it'll be Messi, won't it?
From an Ireland perspective, we obviously like to stick on our green glasses. What's your instinct about the countries that have put a plan in place, adapted and adopted that plan, and are making progress? Are there lessons to be drawn from our perspective?
Yeah, I think there are. Of course, there'll be lessons. I'm sure Stephen Kenny will have a takeaway from this World Cup, and I'm sure he's been over here, hasn't he? So he's been watching games. I think everyone would maybe make comparisons of Morocco with us. Look what Morocco did, and look, but Morocco put a plan in place. I think it was 15 years ago now, 2007. I think they invested around $20 million into into a facility that was like a centre of excellence. We're going to try and create. We're going to try and put our best players into this academy, and we're going to try and create something. What's the place in France called?
Clairefontaine.
Clairefontaine. A similar sort of thing to that, from what I'm led to believe, from what I read anyway. I know most of the players are foreign born. There's Dutch born, there's Spanish born, there's French born within that side, and most of the best players are actually foreign born. But at least they tried to get something in place. They tried to do something, and I said a huge investment went into that, and they tried to make some sort of excellence that's going to create the next group of players. But watching them, Ger, I think there was a clear plan defensively, whether they were played 4 at the back or 5 at the back. But certainly when they played with 4, I think they were so organised when they didn't have the ball. They had a way to defend deep, a low block, as Nathan likes to say. He likes to get involved in the technical terms, Jay. You know what Nathan's like. But so they're playing from a low block. They're playing from a system that's going to suit them first of all. So they're going to get the defensive unit of the side right. But there's fundamentals. Get your fundamentals right when you don't have the ball. But you have to find a way that you're going to open up sides. And with Amrabat in midfield, how he took the ball under pressure, how he would try and thread passes straight through the middle of play. Then when you make that pass through the middle, you break a line, as they say, another Nathan technical term. You break a line with your pass, and the game opens up. And they had a great way of playing out from deep line positions. They also had ball carriers, Ziyech and Unani. I mean, Unani, this guy plays for Angers. They're I think the bottom of the French league. This guy's going to be a superstar if we see the level that he's performed in this tournament and wherever he's going to go. But he's definitely going to leave Angers. The way that he could take the ball under pressure, the way that he could carry the ball in midfield. So, if you watch Luka Modric and watching that performance against Brazil, I'd say probably the performance of this World Cup, because he had a bit of a nightmare in the game prior against Japan. He looked gassed. It looked like there was nothing left in the tank. And then he won Croatia that game. He got Croatia through that match with the level that he showed in his performance. But if you watch what he does when he's on the ball, like he's not just a player that plays 2-touch, 1 and 2 touch, get it, give it. He's a player that takes the ball under pressure. He can wriggle away from pressure that he's under. But he also drives forward 10, 20, 30 yards or whatever it is. And just by doing that, he opens up a game. And he does something that's a bit unconventional as well in how he receives the pass as well, Jay. So he runs beyond a player in an unconventional position of the pitch. Usually if it's a midfield player and say the fullback's got the ball, they'll drop away from play. Usually, as it is now, they'll drop into the back line, take the ball when there's nobody near them. So they're trying to dictate the tempo. But what Modric does, he actually steps beyond the attacking player. So usually it'll be a 10 or a 9, whatever it will be, that will drop back to prevent the holding midfielder getting on the ball. We saw it so often. USA did it against Declan Rice. They just dropped the 2 centre forwards back, and they kind of were on a little bit of a pivot to try to stop him getting on the ball. But what Modric does, he steps beyond that guy and he takes the ball beyond them. So again, that opens up the game further forward. And I think there's little lessons like that for any young midfield player, maybe a coach that's coaching midfielders, that there's ways to get on the ball and not necessarily being a conventional footballer. And I think that's what Morocco did. Certainly with Amrabat, he did very similar things to what Modric did in taking the ball under pressure, but also stepping beyond the opposition attacking players to open up the game. And he's passing forward as well, which obviously opened up the game. So I think Morocco are probably the natural one you'd look at to think, how have they done it? Yes, they've got players in the top levels, and maybe we don't have players at the Moroccan level, but I think there's certainly a way that if we can get 1 or 2 players that's raising the standard and playing at a higher level, I think there's certainly teams like Morocco, maybe 1 or 2 of the other African side as well, that certainly excelled and got out. Even the US, like everyone was telling me, and I said to this, everyone was telling me, US, what a team, they're a great team. US are not a great team. They've got 3 very, very good midfielders. They're bang average at the back. They've got an average goalkeeper. And then up front, the bang average as well. Pulisic runs around a lot, but he doesn't create an awful lot. They don't create a lot of chances, but they've got 3 top-class midfielders, and that's the thing that they had in McKennie, in Musa, and of course Tyler Adams. And that's what got the USA through the tournament. That's what got them to the last 16. So I think there's certain lessons that we can learn from a lot of sides, yeah.
Obviously, our next game is going to be against France, who are potential double World Cup champions. And The group looks a little tricky. The Dutch also looking pretty good, which means that the referendum on Stephen Kenny continues, and we're perpetually stuck in this cycle of conversation about that, as opposed to holding the FAI to account for all the rest of the stuff where they couldn't organise an AGM last night where the voting, it didn't work. It's like
I read a little bit about it, so I'll have to read more on it today. But I did see a few things on Twitter and things like that around it, though, Ger. Yeah.
Have you thoughts about the successful countries and what they're doing?
Well, what I would say, certainly, say if you're looking at the top coaching wise with Morocco, the coach Ali Hodgic gets into the tournament and then they sack him because he's not bringing the best player into the side in Ziyech. So obviously Regragui comes in and he basically only gets the job because he's bringing Ziyech into the squad. So that's not necessarily a good thing, really. It's not a good look from Morocco. But what I would say is, they've found a way to get the best players into the side. That's what the fans want to see. They want to see the best players at the tournament. So that has got to be, a prerequisite for everyone. You've got to play your best players. You've got to have them because that's what everybody wants to see. But I think certainly if you're looking at it from the technical aspect and what coaches are doing and what we're doing, as much as, of course, the results haven't gone right for Stephen Kenny, and I think by and large a lot of the performance haven't been great, but I think it has been. I think there has been a progression there. I think it's a steady progression. Everyone's looking to quickly call out Stephen, and they're good luck. Things didn't go well, particularly great in the Malta and Norway games recently, and everyone's like saying, "Oh, we've gone backwards again now." But we have to look forward. We have to look beyond just saying, "Look, let's go and pluck a Trapattoni out again. Let's go and get a coach that hasn't got a clue about our game. Has never watched a League of Ireland game, has never even studied the structure of Irish football, and we're going to go and pluck a coach out of nowhere, and we're probably going to go back 10 years. Yeah, we might qualify for a tournament. He might get us over the line. But the whole of our game, the whole of our system is centred around the men's senior team. That's the way that it has been, and that can never be the case. Where is our structure for producing the next player? Robbie Keane, Damien Duff, whoever, Roy Keane, whoever it's going to be. Where is our structure? We can't automatically just solely become focused on going, right, where's our next player that was born in England that's going to come and play for Ireland? That cannot be the case. We've gone from those days now. We've got to centre our development or our whole programme on developing players, certainly from within. If somebody becomes available and they want to come and play for Ireland and they're English born, great. But we don't need to go searching for those guys. We don't need to go telling someone, you're Irish, come and play for us. I feel they've got to have a feeling to want to come and play for us, first of all. Yes, they might not necessarily be in an England squad or a Scotland squad at 23, 24, but that cannot be, sorry, it's not the phone down there, I'm getting a bit annoyed here, but anyway, but that cannot be the whole purpose of our international side, going elsewhere to look for players. We've got to find a way to start producing our own players that, yeah, we have to bump them up the ladder. We've got to get them into better leagues, into better teams. Their exposure to better players day to day has got to be better, because we're not going to be able to have a better side further down the line. But we can't be just saying we're going to go and pluck somebody out of an academy in Brighton or Man United or Liverpool, wherever it is, at 16, because they've got a chance to come and play for us, when we know full well that down the line they're probably going to turn their back. They're using us just to put themselves on a different platform. So I could never agree with that sort of mindset anyway. I think we have to have a system in place, and I think in general we are starting to do that. It looks to me like there is a plan. Albeit it's baby steps at the moment, and maybe people can't see that, but I think there is a plan. There's a structure in place, that we've got a succession plan now going forward, and we've got. Well, if Stephen Kenny fails in the next Euros, and we don't qualify, whatever it would be, I think he knows himself he's not going to be around for the World Cup campaign in 4 years' time. But I do think that we can't go saying then, let's go and get a coach, let's pluck a coach out of nowhere that doesn't necessarily have a background in our game. I'm not saying it's an Irishman. I'm not saying, look, let's go and get an Irishman. But they've got to have an understanding of what our game is all about before they're given the job. That's what I believe in, and that's what I think it should be.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you feel this at the World Cup. Like that, you probably thought this before, but you're literally immersed in the best football teams and football countries, and your takeaway is that actually, if we focus ourselves on our own systems and stop looking outside for some miracle messiah, that actually we might begin to make progress that's sustainable and like long-term sustainable, and we'll have a football culture that leads towards hopefully success.
Yeah, but Ger, I've seen it so much, and you've probably seen it as well, that, you know, narrative around different like Twitter feeds and whatever. Oh Jesus! Imagine if we had all these English players playing for Ireland that are all eligible to play for Ireland, what our team would be like. I think Jude Bellingham's eligible. I think obviously Declan Rice, Jack Grealish, Harry Kane, all these guys. Like, why are we centred solely? That's our. Maybe it's been ingrained in us since Big Jack's days and all that sort of thing. And I supported the team. That was my era of supporting the team. I was on board with everything Big Jack was doing, and you know, they brought me my own personal memories. But we understand that we were burned by Declan Rice in a big way, and even maybe Jack Grealish to an extent, but more Declan Rice, who came in and used our system to get where he naturally wanted to be in his career. And we can't be having that again. It probably will happen to us again somewhere down the line, but we cannot be solely focused on going into an academy overseas just to get a player that's Irish, that's eligible to come and play for us, knowing full well that player might not necessarily even go and play in a senior team. It's just, it seems wrong to me. It is wrong to me. And I don't want that to be the narrative around our squad, solely looking at other nations to go, they could have played for us. He's eligible to play for us. I don't see it as that. We've got to get our own house in order before we go look elsewhere.
Kev, great stuff as always. Thanks a million.
Thanks, Ger. Thank you.
Enjoy the final. Talk to you soon. It's Kevin Kilbane giving us his thoughts.